Hi guys, KH Cloud here. So I just watched the first two episodes of Love Season 2. So Love Season 2 takes off right where Love Season 1 ended. And it keeps the signature kind of awkward humor that the first one had. So if you're not a fan of that, you're probably not going to be a fan of the series. But I am a fan of awkward humor. Like one of my favorite series is Arrested Development, and that's basically all awkward humor. But Love sometimes falls a bit short. But surprisingly, in season two, it was mostly on point. For season one, it was kind of a little bit rocky here and there. But so far, the first two episodes of season two have actually been a really big improvement, and I'm quite happy about that. I feel part of that is we're no longer getting introduced to the characters. We've actually kind of been with them for quite a while, and we know all the little ins and outs and little awkwardnesses about them that makes their characters now a bit more enjoyable. I still find Paul Rust, who plays Gus, to be a bit kind of He's not as good of an actor as Gillian Jacobs, who plays Mickey, the female lead, is. And that still does kind of shine through in Love Season 2. She does a great job of kind of showing how she's conflicted with her love and sex addiction that she's just discovered and her need to kind of keep things slow and her legitimate attraction to Gus. Gus is kind of feeling the same thing. He isn't really he doesn't have a love and sex addiction, but he is very much in love with her, I think, or at least in lust with her, and he has to kind of hold himself back for her sake. And I think Paul Russ is a bit more obvious when it comes to that. My favorite character still in the series is Birdie. She has some great lines to start the episode one, even later on in episode two. She represents this opposite side of the awkward humor that Gus has. Gus is awkward and kind of trying to keep himself socially presentable, and that's why he's awkward. Whereas she's awkward because she's just so honest about everything that it creates these kind of awkward situations where people are like, oh, cool. But I feel it makes the character rather endearing. I think the cast for the most part is pretty good. The characters in some cases are a bit one note, but when you have a series of, 30-minute episodes, that's going to happen. The focus really should be on Gus and Mickey, and it is in the first two episodes. And they also kind of keep you hooked on this notion of will they, won't they, because you can tell that they both have an interest in each other. There's one scene in particular that stands out in these first two episodes where they're both at different parties. Despite the fact that the parties, they're two kind of separate, contrasting parties. One is a group of young guys hanging out at a bar, and the other one is a group of, 30-year-olds kind of engaged in a more mature couple-like interaction. Most of the people there are couples except for Mickey, who's resisting the urge to invite Gus over. One of the things that they showcase really well on this party scene is that both characters, despite being in parties that might in some sense be enjoyable, can't stand it. They can't stand the loneliness, and they feel kind of bored, even though in the previous season when they were at these kind of parties, they were actually engaging. They felt kind of interested in them, and that kind of shows how they're developing these feelings for each other that we didn't quite see in season one. In fact, in season one, at times you were kind of like, why is this girl hanging out with this guy? Or why is this guy hanging out with this girl? You don't get that as much in season two. I feel like the writing's kind of improved a bit. There still are a ton of ridiculous situations that they get put in, but the dialogue kind of keeps them somewhat realistic. Like, despite the fact that these situations are ridiculous, they're engaging in a way that I would expect actual people to engage in, which I kind of respect in the show. Ironically, for me, the character I most identify in the series, I think, the target audience would be for me to identify with Gus because he's kind of this awkward, nerdy guy. I actually identify a bit more with Mickey, who I feel is actually a bit more weird, but I identify with that a bit more than Gus because I feel like Gus is just kind of like stuck up a bit, and Mickey is not. And so I kind of enjoy her character more and kind of see more of myself in her character. But I actually do quite like the season after seeing the first two episodes. It does have me hooked, and that kind of surprised me a bit because season one was kind of at times. I mostly watched it because there were 30-minute episodes that I could watch in my spare time. But season two, these first two episodes, I'm actually genuinely interested in seeing where this relationship goes and how it blossoms because it definitely seems a bit more realistic than it was seeming in season one. But given that this takes place right after season one, I have to feel like they probably shot the two seasons back to back So maybe that was planned the entire time. Any of you guys, I'll see you later. Peace.